Okay, I hope you're having a good day. First things first, yesterday I talked about storms, how they go up the west, they come through the San Francisco Bay Area, or they come off the coast anywhere on the west coast of the United States. They come off the coast and they bump into the mountains. In our case, they bump into the Sierra Nevada. Up north, it's the Cascades. But when storms do that, they get pushed up the slope. It's orographic lifting. We've talked about that. But what happens is, right, it gets pushed against the top of the atmosphere, the tropopause, which is the troposphere is where we live. Tropopause is the top. It gets pushed and it spreads out like an ice skater opening its arms, his or her arms, and slows down. The storm slows down. When it's in the flats out over Sacramento and in the valley, it's going real fast, moves up the slope and spreads out. That's called conservation of angular momentum. I did not express that yesterday. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I go, I should at least apply a classical physics term to that. Now we're talking about king tides. They are still going on. It's becoming less and less because every day the swing, the tides, high tides and the low tides aren't quite as extreme. But let's use today as an example. The high tide today in Santa Cruz is 7 foot, right, in the mid-morning. And then the low tide this afternoon, about every 6 hours, you have a high and a low tide. The low tide is minus 1.4. So the total of that is about 8.5 feet of water, almost 8.5 feet of water, that has to move up and move down. So now you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's dangerous on the rocks, whatever. But then think about San Francisco Bay. 8 feet of water, the entire San Francisco Bay. Then it has to go out through that little gap at the Golden Gate Bridge. It has to lose 8 feet of water in 6 hours, or approximately that. So there's a lot of current. There's a lot of water moving. It's gnarly. That's why I said yesterday, today's not as bad because the swell is smaller, but what I said yesterday about, hey, listen, the ocean yesterday and the day before and coming up the next couple of days are as gnarly and dangerous as you can get anywhere, especially next to a big urban center like this, because you've got all that water moving out the gate, all that high tide and all that swell. So very dangerous conditions. The king tide's becoming less each day as we go through the week, but the swell drops tomorrow, comes back up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, back up to 8 to 10 feet, which means Mavericks will just be breaking a little bit. It won't be very surfable, I don't suspect. It'll be just below that line, but the swells are still big is what I'm getting at. And that means the tides are still going to be high. They're still going to be around 6 foot, not 7 foot, but 6 foot. And the lows won't be as extreme. But the idea is it's going to be very dangerous next week. Okay, here's Ocean Beach. Swells right now are, the intervals dropped way off, as you know. And we are looking at steamers laying now. And the higher tide, this is the higher tide of the mid-morning or the early afternoon at this point. And you can see it just gets fat. And the swells drop quite a bit. And when I say it gets fat, you see how it doesn't break? See how the wave's trying to break? It's trying to find the bottom because it's too deep. So what will happen here is when the tide gets lower and lose a couple feet of water in here, in this case today, they're going to lose like 6 feet, right? So now the reef is more exposed. This wave is reacting to the bottom right here, but it's still too deep, and then boom, kind of unloads. So low tide obviously low tide is going to be good today, actually, in Santa Cruz because the swells dropped and what have you. So anyway, enough surf talk. Beautiful day, San Francisco, prettiest city in the world. If you ever read books about San Francisco, the history books, and back during the gold rush and in the 1800s, my grandparents were all here, and great-grandparents and whatever, and my grandparents used to talk about this. And my grandpa actually less, was that in San Francisco, it was considered the most exotic city in the world. Forget Paris, forget Baghdad, forget all these, right, these exotic, romantic. San Francisco at that time in world history became the most exotic city in the world. And the women of San Francisco were considered to be the most beautiful, exotic women in the world. And I'm sure that's a lot of just so exciting because it's a new city. The thing showed up out of nowhere, right, San Francisco. But when you read the books, it's fascinating. It was the hub of culture. It was the hub of intellectual thought. Really, it's fascinating what San Francisco, it still is. I feel that way now, but I'm just saying it's fascinating. I never really thought about that. I never really thought about, and I remember the old timers talking about, San Francisco, I don't know. Just the world seemed to revolve around San Francisco because of the silver mines, because of the gold rush, because of a lot of mining money coming in. And then once the money came in, the banks came in, the East Coast money came in, and then it started to proliferate. Okay, here is Mount Tamalpais. And I'm going to go put the fast forward on it because I never see the sunrise. Sometimes I do. And then there it is coming up. And you kind of get a feel for the day. There is no fog along the coast. Fog is going to probably not return for a while, right? Big high tides. It's interesting. I wish we could see it's interesting. You can almost see the water moving, can't you? I was thinking about the tide change, but I don't think you can. Okay, here is the coastal flood advisory. And that makes sense, right? Lucky Drive, all those spots in Marin County, all the way up into Santa Rosa, right? They have, on the high tide, there's water and these rivers back up, the arroyos back up, and that's what's happening. The freeze warning, which is awesome, has been dropped for us. There was a freeze warning for tomorrow morning in this area and in this area, but it's kind of got above freezing, so we're going to be seeing temperatures in the mid and upper 30s, not in the low 30s, but there is still a freeze warning further south. And then here you go. Here's the satellite image, the high clouds, the snow in the Sierra Nevada. That's all snow. You can kind of tell. You can see how it contours the hillside and lays in. So that's a lot of snow. I mean, they did well. It's interesting too. Look how much more snow. It appears much more snow further south in the central southern Sierra Nevada. So there was more moisture field going through there. It was cold everywhere, but there was more moisture available to unload, which happens a lot. Mammoth is a magnet for snow, as you know. Okay, here's the model. This is right now. I'm going to put a red circle around California. I know it's hard to see, but let's just go through it. What we're really looking at here is, first thing we'll look at is Sunday, like here. Okay, there's that Sunday opportunity for something, but no big deal, right? Maybe a drizzle, and you can just see the blue. It's a minor thing. And then I'm going to go through some time here through the week, and then right around, you get to Thanksgiving or in that period, look at that system up north, and it starts to come in. Now, this is getting closer to the Thanksgiving holiday week, and that pattern, see that coming through? So there's a lot. This is a very active pattern, and if you look at, see the lines that are close together, that is some significant pressure gradient, which means significant wind in this zone, significant wind in Northern California, meaning this storm's got game for sure. So we'll keep an eye on that. The 5-day forecast is what you'd expect. There'll be a little frost. We've seen frost in the last few mornings. That'll continue. I think the real weather story is king tides are going away, but the swell stays big. And then you get into this potential for a significant weather event. I know it's down the road, but that signature is going to, in some iteration, that's going to come true. It may not be as strong or as far north, but it may be further south. So it could be something for us. So you're looking at the 5-day forecast. I hope you had a great day. I hope you have a good weekend. Make it a good day. I hate it when people say that because I'm always trying to make it a good day. And if I don't make it a good day, I'm like, damn, I didn't make it a good day. But yeah, just have a good day. Have a good day.